I don't.
Clearly.
Well, I'm ethically challenged, so.
Actually, he didn't put doctor. You should change doctor. That could be one of the pronouns that you add.
Oh, right. He, him, doctor.
Yes.
Be careful there. That might offend somebody.
Doesn't no? I think they'll be okay.
No, I
If
actually had something
listen,
like that
it's pretty
happen.
funny.
I'm not offended that Todd having a doctorate calls himself a doctor.
No, I know, but I'm just saying you got to be careful because
I'm not offended
how
by him
some
doing
people
doctor.
identify is
Doctors.
beyond me.
He can do it. He can do it.
Somebody did like something like that at JP Morgan,
yes,
and it became a big HR nightmare.
Very good. So just to let everybody else know, we're live. So this is FloridaJS. We'll be doing a bunch of different things in a couple of minutes. So let's just chit chat. Like I was saying a little bit earlier, we are going to be going live next month in person. Now we will both do a hybrid. So in other words, I will be similar to how you could go right now to youtube.com/FloridaJS and see us live. Please don't go. Please stay here with us. You will be able to do it next month should you choose to not come into the office to the location. We haven't chosen a location yet, but we will, and just check it out. But before that, we will have the great Jonathan Sanchez present React.js, React Native. Jonathan, is it called React.js Native or React Native?
No, we're gonna next.
We're doing Next.js, right?
Oh, I'm sorry. We already had React Native. How silly of me. So we were doing Next.js, even more of a requested thing and all that. So I really appreciate it. With that in mind,
Damian, for the in-person event, are you debating like between like Sendine and Boca Code, or you have others?
Yeah,
or
there's only those two.
For Boca Code, it's close to where I live. Plus, it saves me on gas.
Sounds good.
I agree.
There's a good.
I vote Boca Code for audio reasons.
Oh, tell me, Steve, is it difficult to hear over there in the Sendine spaces?
It's very difficult because it's so echoey over there.
When you're there, right? Not listening to it afterwards. Yeah. I agree, and I think we. With Amanda, we were trying to solve that issue. She had there was different times it would work and not work. She decided to move the speaker next to the speaker, as in the device, next to the speaker, as in the person, and I think that affected very much how we would listen to and hear and all that. So we'll see how it goes.
It's a matter of architecture. It's not a matter of speaker placement.
I agree, and so that's
for those of you that don't know, Steve actually has a background in audio engineering.
I didn't know that.
He's not just speaking as a lay person on this. He literally has a background in audio engineering. So I would listen to him carefully on that. Of course, Sendine, we've got, you've got the good food there. You've got the restaurant in the venue, but, we could bring food into either place, and happy to sponsor that as well.
Sounds good, Todd. Thank you very much. So we will be having well, you know what? Let's just go to does anybody have any, we always do this kind of at the end, and that gives enough people. Does anybody want to announce anything, right? This is your peoples. Here we are all in a good place. I definitely would ask for it to be, something that you let us know. Do you have any events that are coming up other than Jonathan's amazing Next.js event coming at the end of the month that you want to talk about? Anybody want to say anything like that?
Well, other than going for my interview, I may need to go possibly speak with an investigator at some location, like a police station, as part of
James, is it something we want to share right now? And then
no.
I was talking more like, does anybody have any upcoming conferences or upcoming events that they'd like people to know about related to tech and all that? So,
we've got a lot of upcoming events, so stay tuned. I'm sure some of you have heard that there's a a big Florida React conference is going to be coming in April.
Absolutely.
So that's really big. Michelle is been working on that with some people from all around the world, actually. So that'll be huge, and hopefully we're trying to time it so that it'll work out with Brightline, so that we can actually have events in West Palm, Boca, and Miami for the conference.
That would
And
be
you
amazing.
can take Brightline between the events. So we're trying to to time that out, or to make that, yeah, we're trying to make it the timing on that work. But of course, we can't control Brightline's timeline. And we have Boca Coda has a couple of free workshops coming up in August. We have a full day intro to coding, which no one on this call, I'm sure, would need an intro to coding. Like it's an intro to HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Free day of coding on Sunday, August 8th, followed by something that some of you might be interested in. The following week on August 15th, we have a free day of game development where you learn Unity and do some C# programming and actually, build a couple of games. Those are both, always fun workshops and free. And then I think there's going to be a few other upcoming events that we'll be able to announce in the future.
Awesome. So do us a favor, Todd, and drop something in the chat. That will give everybody a chance also to bring up the chat. Usually we'll be at the very bottom of the screen. Even when I start sharing my screen, you can click on there. Do reach out to it. If I'm speaking, I'm going to have a hard time replying unless you want to let me know my mic's too hot, that mic's too loud, or maybe I disconnected the mic and I'm talking to myself. Just please let us know. Todd just dropped the Eventbrite link. Definitely check it out there. And because of that link specifically, Arturo is going to join us for this speaking. So perfect. Let's wait for Arturo to see. Arturo, since you've joined us, then it's a perfect time for us to do this presentation. I'm going to switch to sharing my screen, and I'm talking about the different areas. This is not what our presentation is about. So bear with me here as I click on present to my slide. So before anybody asks or you bring it up, I was actually going to present on my Chromebook, since it is a JavaScript presentation, and found out that the Zoom is incredibly slow. And I realized that I would be talking and telling you to do something, and it would be several seconds before you saw it on there. So we switched back to the old trusty, so whatever 10-year-old Mac I have here. Today you're welcome to follow my slides, so what you will seeing right now under slides.floridajs.com. I always have the slides there. Maybe the ones for not necessarily the ones for the presenter that's doing it, but even if I had some few ones at the beginning that had some basic information, will be there. In this case, you will see everything that you see right now, but I'll be jumping out into the command line, into other things. So, those you will not see in the slides. Today, we'll be talking about a couple of different things. And before we do that, let's talk about different things. My name is Damian Montero. I've been here for a long time. I had to update the slides. The slide is so old. I only had to bring out a little Sharpie to change it. So, it's over 22 years. I've been doing this in the business as a developer. I just realized it says in the business. Well, it wasn't like I was a manager before, or I wasn't, under the desk screwing in computers and things like that. I was actually a developer. I'm currently a tech lead at JM Family. I love me some JavaScript, and I love servers and ITs and everything like that. I am the JS phone co-founder, but I'm not the only one. I used to run a group called Boca.js. Some of you might remember that. You also might remember a group called Palm Beach JS. That was Jeremy Lawson's group. And React Broward, or React for Lauderdale, pardon me, I think it was called, was Jeannie. And she was running it. And we've joined forces now. We're in FloridaJS, where we are here. All the links to Palm Beach JS and Boca.js also now point to this. So if this is the first time you've heard that we are now called FloridaJS, then congratulations. I haven't done my work as an advertiser very well. So if you ever miss something, or you're wondering what's going on, you can, if meetup.com, meetup.com actually sort of died, and it was literally in the middle of an event. So you can always go to FloridaJS.com. I always have the events there as well as the videos of every single thing that's happening underneath. Talking about the videos, if you like what I'm doing and you want to in any which way thank me, other than that, thanks, which is very valuable to me, I would love for you to go to youtube.com/FloridaJS and click on that subscribe button. It is something that makes my heart grow bigger each time that you do it. I am presenting right now because I wanted to present. We have some amazing presenters coming up there, but if you feel like you can present, regardless of whether you are an expert or beginner at this, make sure to contact me. I can be contacted at Twitter. You can Google me. There's a million different ways to contact me. Please go ahead and do so, because we are always looking for presenters. It can't be always just me talking. Go ahead and make sure you schedule for the end. The date is wrong, but at the end of the month, the last Tuesday of the month, we're going to have the amazing Jonathan Sanchez, which is presented here before in this presentation, this talk today. He's going to go ahead and present next month, at the end of the month, pardon me. And so make sure to join us at that moment. You will see that he has an amazing, it's something you guys have all been talking about, Next.js. So he will be talking about it at the end of the month. So make sure to go to FloridaJS or meetup.com/FloridaJS to find out more.
Is that going to be July 27th?
It is July 27th. It was going to be scheduled for today. Like I mentioned a little bit earlier, the date is wrong, but at the end of the month, you will find that he is there. So thank you for correcting me on that. All right. Any questions or any comments about what we're doing so far, or else I'll go straight into the presentation. Does anybody know what Json Server is? Has anybody been around and heard it before? Please feel free to unmute yourself. I'm the kind of speaker that doesn't mind interruptions. So please go ahead and let us know if you tried it.
Yeah, I've used it for building like demos and examples and those kind of things. It's been great.
It is absolutely magic. Thank you. Who was it that just said that?
Barry.
This is Barry.
Barry. Thank you for that. I agree with you. I found it and it is amazing. I'll tell you, well, let's go to it. I mean, let's figure out what it is. I feel that any presentation about, something like what you're presenting should be started with, for example, what's the problem that you're solving with this, right? So give me 1 second. 1 second. Oh, okay. So we're just joining with Cesar. So just wanted to make sure that Cesar come in. Cesar, what we're talking about too is Json Server and what problem is it solving. And Barry, he was absolutely right. When can you use it? You can use it most of the different times, and I'll talk about it. And the example that I best used with this was I was working for a very high-end consulting company where I was doing the front-end development. I'm both a front-end and back-end developer, but they needed someone to do the front-end. I built this very impressive, very serious front-end. And because of the fact that it was well documented, well presented, it was a piece of cake for them to go and give me everything. And I didn't need to do the back end. So I could build the front end and there was a need for back end. Once I continued development, I was getting ahead of the back end people. In fact, the back end people were not going to be able to be available for almost a month after I had started the project. So I got to the point at which I was kind of finished the projects and I needed to test some things out. And I ran into Json Server, and what it did for me was I was able to define, and by that, it may sound a little bit more complicated than it really is, choose exactly what kind of reply I would get from the API, what kind of data I was saving back and forth with the API, what kind of things I was referring to. And this is, picture it like a wizard where you're signing up for healthcare. You go ahead and you find it, and you have to go through a different wizard and has to remember who you are and ask you the plans, and the plans have to come up that depends on certain things. So there was a lot of work that was going to be going to the API, but I needed, as a front-end developer, just the ability to access the backend. So what I ended up doing is I ended up using Json Server, and you'll see what it is, where we ended up with a backend that was able to do full CRUD, and from a JSON. And this all seems a little bit far-fetched and over the top. We'll go when we go into the sort of example. Sorry, I'm switching back on to two computers here. We'll get more information. So all you have to know right now is you get an instant API server. It is production ready. It doesn't only have to do like Barry said, I used it for exactly the same thing as Barry. I used it for my test and development. I used it for different things. What we can do though is use it in production ready, and I'll explain exactly what I mean by that by letting you know where you can literally hit it right now in a production ready server, and it is instantly having what's going on. What was amazing is once I finished all the work on my JSON server, which could, that I could modify, I could hit with my front end with full CRUD, create, read, update and delete, REST compliant, and I was able to do all that. And then the backend server developers came in and says, what is the backend? What kind of APIs, what kind of calls, what's the signatures that the calls are going to come back? And I pointed them to the server. And I gave them what you're going to see in a second, which is I gave them the JSON file, which represented everything. And they were just blown away because unlike whatever they had to do before, they almost didn't need the documentation because it was actually going to be what my front end expected. And they could see it, they could test it, they could make sure that their professional, sophisticated API did it, and it looked like exactly what's going on. But you might still be, I've explained a lot of things, but there is much more than this in that server. So first, let's install it. So it's an application that lives in your computer, and it needs something. So let's go ahead and first of all, find it. So there is already an existing service out there that's provided by the same service people where you can try what it is out. But I don't need to do that. I'm going to show you by installing it directly on my computer. So on this particular computer that I'm on right now, I don't have this installed. This is an npm installation application. So I will simply go to bear with me here as I get rid of my Zoom doc here. I will go to my terminal. And if I type in Json Server, the program would normally be running there. It isn't, so I'm going to go sudo make me a sandwich and install this as an application. And you can follow along in the URL there. Does anybody remember what my password is? Yes, it's password with a capital P, so nobody remembers what it is. So as I install it,
you made it more secure since last time.
That's right. With a number 1 and a 0 for
and
the
an
O and the
exclamation
I.
point at the end.
See, that would be a little bit too advanced. I did not do that. So what you will see here.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. So what I have here is the application. Okay, and I'm going to go to a location where I like to keep my code. I'm going to go temp, and I can start JSON Server. Let's go to temp. Oh my! I spelled it one way and then I see it. I'm seeing a blank directory here. And what JSON Server needs is the database, what it's going to be accessing in a JSON format. And so where are we going to go there? We are all about what our different individuals see. So we're going to use something from sample APIs. So here we are. This is the sample API example. Oops, that's the wrong example. I have here an example of data having to do with Futurama. I'm going to go ahead and highlight it. And the idea behind sample API, I'll just highlight the whole thing, is I'm going to go ahead and come in here and just and then dump it in here. Okay, so let's go ahead and save that. Save it. So at this moment, I'm going to go temp and, oh my goodness, remember where it is, and Futurama. So one more time, all I did was I went ahead and looked at a particular file, and let's go ahead and edit it. So I'm going to go code Futurama to open it in an editor that we can all look at it. This is a very basic JSON file, and the reason why I'm editing it is just to look at it together here. Okay, so that's what it looks like. It has two different things here, and this is a large file. So in a second, we'll be able to collapse it. These are the different things we have here. We have characters, we have info, we have casts, we have episodes. So in each one of these is a collection of things. So we have a collection of metadata. We have a collection of questions. Inside the questions, there's ID, things like that. So you can see that it kind of looks at database. This is questions. And so you could sort of expose this JSON file. But if you did expose this JSON file for your front end to utilize, you'll be able to read, but you won't be able to edit because it's just a JSON file. You can pull at it and that's it. There's no interaction. Well, we are here in the same location. I've switched to the DOS prompt here, and I can just go Json Server Futurama. So telling the server I'm going to do it, and I'm going to go, and now I have a new host. So as you can see, this application gave me something that's accessible. Perfect. And I'm going to go to your local host and press enter, and I'm going to get a beautiful front end that you will see will be easy to utilize. And now we're getting maybe a little bit that wasn't too clear at the end. What I'm doing is I'm exposing a front end API that has all the information the backend has, and it is just that information. Ignore the fact that my viewer on Chrome makes it a little bit pretty with colors and all that. This is JSON at the very end. So at this moment, if it's not very clear, I have a way to go to a server on my computer, and it's the full server. So I can, for example, say if I had a particular existing application that knew about this, and I can go and say, okay, with existing application, let me see if this is going to work actually. I want you not to point to this particular URL that you had before, but point to my new little friend here. Okay, so localhost 3000. Yeah, I don't know if that's going to work because I think this application requires different things. As you can see, I don't know if you saw it, but it actually pulled the information. Right? So what is Fry's first name is this application. What I'm showing you here is a sample application from the sample APIs that knows what that JSON, that database has. And you can see that it had the information. You didn't see it, but it refreshed, or some of you may have seen it. But if I have a mistake here and I don't have a real server, this page by itself, if I save it, will refresh and say, hey, I'm having trouble finding the questions. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and correct it. So if it isn't clear right now, I have an API that my beautiful, complicatedly advanced front end is now hitting. So before, if you saw it, it was hitting a different URL that happens to be an externally exposed thing that you can hit. But now instantly, in a couple of seconds, I've grabbed the JSON file, I've downloaded it, and I exposed it with those in mind. And so one of the things we can see with that, I'm going to go ahead and open up Postman just to make it even more obvious. I'm going to go ahead and paste this and go questions. And so Postman, if anybody that doesn't know, it's just a way that you can interact with the backend in a way that's more impressive and more serious. So if I want to go ahead, and this is the question here, and what I want to know is I want to update this element here, I can do a full request. I can do a full patch. Well, let's just do a this is we'll do this the hard way and do a full post. I'm to my bottom there. Let's see params, the body. It's going to be JSON, so just raw. Okay, whoops. Oh my. Copy. Paste it here, and I'm going to tell it's JSON. I'm going to put an ID so it knows to update this. I'm going to say the different options will be Damian, and definitely the right answer should always be, as it always is in life, Damian. So let's see if we can do this. Now, I'm maybe doing something that errors out here. It does error out here. Let me see what's going on in here. Probably the period, the comma there, since it's not a collection. Let's see. Wonderful. And it seemed to like it. It should have replied with the ID, but let's see if we can go back here and do a get. And I'm going to go ahead and do a get. And we don't see the update, but anyways, I've done the wrong. Let's see if I do a patch instead of a put. Didn't like it. There's something unique about it. Let me see if I have something in here. Should be able to do this one like this, just a patch like this. Doesn't seem to like it. Well, trust me.
A lot of times for patches, don't you have to do like patch localhost 3000 question /1?
Thank you, my
and
friend.
give it the
So
data.
let's absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you, my friend. Let's do that. So we're going to do a patch in this way. I'm going to go ahead and just for shits and giggles, I believe it is the American term. I'm not American, so I can say those words. This is how you do it. Thank you, my friend. Up here, needed the ID. Let's go ahead and update that. And we have a good reply, which means if I go back to questions, thank you so much for that help. I love the help, and I love for you guys to stop me at any moment in doing. As you can see, the database has changed. The file has actually changed. The physical file has changed. So at this moment, if you haven't really caught on, well, what I've done is something where I can go to this one and reload my application, and there's my name. And if I put in there, you got the right one. It was correctly answered. So as you can see, we've changed the front end in a more than just pulling a JSON file from a server. We have a full API. And if I go ahead and open the actual, my goodness, the file on code, because code knows that there's been a change and it will reload it, I can confirm that my name is in there. Okay, so as you can see, we are able to do a full API in a matter of seconds, as long as I had this idea. And so now you can see what it was like when I sent the reply to the server people saying, the server developers saying, listen, I want you to follow this. Each one of these collections, each one of these things that is a property with collections inside of it is my endpoint. So it was that / questions as we saw it. And if I wanted to do one, it would be accessing this one. And these are the things that it replied. And then the server people, I'm telling you, were blown away. They're like, oh, I now know what's the signature of my reply. So any questions about that or any questions about what I did if it wasn't obvious what I did?
So basically for the JSON data, you just need, you don't need the metadata in that JSON, right? That's
the metadata. No. That's something for no. This has nothing to do with it. This has to do with sample APIs where I got the information from.
So you just have like info, characters, cast. Those are like their own collections.
Their own collection, and more importantly to it, their own endpoints. So let's look at this: info, characters, cast, episode, questions, inventory. And so I'm going to open up.
You have full CRUD for each of
100%. And as you can see, these are the endpoints. I don't know why I didn't see. I think I have to reload the page. Let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to Control-C it. You can see the traffic that's coming up here. Great. I'm going to reload, and we'll see that the front end now has the same endpoints as what it considers it. And even though there is info as in a collection, if I go to questions, I only get the questions, right? And JSON comes up with only questions. So absolutely, like you said, we have a full CRUD backend that has a nice front end that I can point to developers and non-developers and say, this is what we have here, right? Because there will be some non-developers are like, yeah, I get it. And let me confirm. I changed the questions. Let me see if it changed. I did the UI. I went to your UI that maybe had an ability to update or parse or delete, and they can go to the actual JSON server without, because maybe the reading part of the website isn't done yet, of the front end, but they can open up a URL. They can go into questions and they can say, I changed the question number 1. There it is. I see my change in question number 1. So at this instant, we have a full API backend that was instantly created from a JSON file, instantly accessible without username and passwords. So, be aware of that. instantly you have the full options. Always ignore options. Full delete, put, patch, post. If we do that, if I go ahead and go to this, choose delete, choose one, and click on send, let's see if it should be okay. It's happy with that. So I'm going to go back to, we should see now question number 1 gone. And question number 1 is gone. You can see it there. And so now the QA person, I'm going to refresh this page, will not see what is the name with the answer being Damian. It will see that second question, which is not the original. Oh, sorry. Let's go to our own URL. Whoops. Oh,
Oh, Damien, this is great, man.
Thank you, my friend.
This is really good. Wanted to ask, like,
please,
if you could elaborate on how, like, just how you have this in a live environment, like sample APIs,
yes,
production environment.
Absolutely. So one of the examples of this is originally what sample APIs, and you can still hit it and you can still see it, and please go to it right now, is a production server that's being used by people like, you know, the Boca Code people, the most of the best you know, schools like Boca Code.
I heard West Boss uses it too.
Even West Boss, thank you, my friend. He has in one of his courses. It is something that a lot of people use, and there's a bunch of different endpoints where you can find out information about wines and maybe find out different things that you want to pull from something that's comfortable for you. This was created originally by Jeremy and contributed by people like Jonathan, myself, Todd, other people in this community, Rick, of course, and some of the students of Boca Code. And we're able to accept new endpoints, and you have all sorts of different information that is something that could be useful to you, including a way to query it utilizing GraphQL. If that's something you know. If you don't worry about it. Another way of pulling the information. So when we had that issue, what he wanted to do is Jeremy saw this issue in that he wanted to provide data that his students, when he was a teacher, could pull without even thinking about registering or without subscribing or setting up a database, forgetting about it and getting a bill for $7 a month the following month. And you're like, oh my goodness. And then requiring a username or requiring a special library. This is supposed to be an answer to that. So if you just go to this endpoint here, you just have the ERA single lessons for this particular data group that you're talking about. So when we needed to do this, what we do is we integrated with Json Server. I told him the answer, he was going to build this from scratch. He's going to have a full API backend from scratch and all that. And I said, going overboard with that, hand it over to the API JSON server, and you'll find that it's able to do this. That's why, for example, the website is sample APIs, but the backend is apis.sampleapis.com. What's hidden in there is a JSON server running on a production server. And so we haven't had any, it's hidden behind a proxy, but we haven't had any issues. It's been able to be hit. It's hit by a lot of different schools all at the same time. We have limiters. So if you hit it too many times, more than, I don't know, something like 10,000 in an hour, we slow you down a little bit to make sure that that's the case. But
200
a minute?
I think it's like 200 in 5 minutes or 10 minutes or something.
Yeah, we hit the limit in class one day. That's
so wonderful. So you should have been you were already put in a whitelist or blacklist, an allow list. Please excuse me.
And this server that you have this running on, is it a
yes.
Linux and you have like a PM2 instance running that JSON server?
Thank you, sir. Yes. We are exactly doing that. Thank you, Jonathan. You're very knowledgeable with these things. I appreciate that. And yes, so we have a professional server we have in front of it that allows us not to deal with unusual hits or anybody trying to do different things other than what they should be able to be doing in that. So I'm going to make you Mr. Oh, okay. So that's the JSON server. It allows you to do these kind of access in there. And one of the things I wanted to quickly, so any questions regarding that, regarding how, can you all understand how you might, just like Barry did, want to come up with something quick, easy, with full
Yeah,
CRUD,
Damien-
that means delete and all that. Yes.
Damien, I have a quick question. Sorry,
Yes.
because
No,
I
please.
actually have to run in a minute.
Okay.
Being called to dinner. Sorry.
Yes.
So you ran JSON server Futurama.json
Yes.
to get this for that Futurama file.
Yes.
But on sample APIs, you have like dozens of these JSON files. So what's
Correct.
the command where you have, like, do you just say like JSON server here, like dot, and then it?
No.
looks like all the JSON?
We do a little bit more sophisticated things in sample APIs. You're able to sort of interface with it. So let's go quickly to that. I don't want to go too much into the weeds in there.
Yeah, sorry.
But that's okay. But the server, what it does is it figures out. I think this is the API list. So what we do is we sort of connect. That's not it. Where is it? There we go. Nope. There's a way to sort of connect to it more than just sort of, I can run it. I'm running it here as a command line. So I don't do it for all the different, it's not, there's no, there's, I don't know, 30 different endpoints with like baseball and Futurama and soccer and world and country endpoints that you can hit anytime you want. I'm not running one for each, as what you were referring to it there. And you cannot do like JSON here, where you would have a Futurama JSON and then you would get a Futurama endpoint. What we do is you'll have to figure out where it is. There's the routes. There it is. So in each one, we connect it. We use JSON sort of as a middleware. So we are the one who prevents it, who uses it, and then we pass towards it somewhere here the actual. This is the GraphQL. There it is. There it is. So we utilize it as a library, right? And so we say to the JSON server, answer this with this file, JSON server, for this route. And it figures out, it does things by itself as a middleware, as you can see here, right?
Very cool.
So that's the way we do it right
Very cool.
there. Yeah.
All right. Sorry, I got to run, guys.
Okay.
But thanks so much, Damien. This is
My pleasure.
awesome.
Thank you.
Love it as always, and see you soon.
Sounds good, my friend. All right, so let's continue on with a couple of, so any other questions regarding JSON server and what we're doing here? There's one more thing I want to show you all before we get to the winnings of today's raffle and things like that. But before I do that,
sorry, what
please.
I ask about cores?
So it is CORS compliant automatically. So we do different things on our front end, again, because we're doing it through an API, but normally you wouldn't do this. Normally you would run it as an application, like I'm running it here with just pointing it at, ignore the slash, pointing it at a particular JSON file that has as its collections, its endpoints. So each collection would be an endpoint, similar to how you would have it defined on a database. And there's where it figures out. So, but normally you would point it to one JSON server. When I was utilizing this, I'm sure when Barry was utilizing this, it was only one JSON server with collections of stuff in here.
Very cool, man.
Yeah. All right. Good. So, and before I continue on, any questions?
Yeah, I do.
Tell me.
Relating to Json Server,
Yes.
is it the same thing as Surge, where you can publish your?
No, that's an interesting question. No, so it's solving different problems. Just to let you know, James. So Surge I'm a big fan of it. This particular service solves how to put your website up right now, front end, and not have any cost.
Okay.
This is different. For example, I have put in here my profile. So there it is, my profile with my contact information. And this is free hosted and things like that. This is the JSON server is the problem that I'm trying to solve is how, since I'm going to be developing a front end, where can I put the back end without having to learn or without doing the back end code and everything to do with that. So picture that I have 22 years experience. I know how to do back-end code, but similar to how I would quickly spin up a website and push it to search, then fine, I can push React there, and that's a beautiful front end, but where do I put the back end? And JSON Server is not a website. It is a service, a library. So it is something that I'm utilizing either on my local laptop or I'm physically putting it on a server, as we do with sample APIs, so that it can be a backend to an API without having to build that.
Okay, so it's going to be published on your own machine. So it's published on your own machine.
It is public on machine, but remember, it's not solving. It can solve the issue of you and I are building this application and we're going to go live with it and we want to sell it to a bunch of taxi drivers. How do I do a backend? We could do this with this, but it would have its limitations. But you and I, James, would be able to go to a customer and say, listen, this is what we propose. This is the quiz app. And this is the one that we go ahead and we can utilize, test, showcase by simply pointing at localhost. And so we can do it on our laptops when we do those presentations. I don't want to diminish, as we did before, where we're defining JSON Server as something that you do only in hackathons, or when you want to quickly put in a backend and you cannot wait for the backend people, as my example is, or a hackathon, as Barry's example is. But it is the answer to how do I set up an API without having to set up an API? Is that clear?
I'm going to have to do some research on that.
Okay. Think of one of the things I tell you, James, and if anybody else has the same doubts as what James has, is don't think so much, how would you use this service or this library? I feel that's the wrong way of thinking about this. You should be thinking like, do I have this problem? Do I have the problem of needing an instant API server right now? For my profile that you saw a second ago, I do not have that problem. So therefore, I do not need this as a solution. Can I build sophisticated API backends? Yes, I can. Do I have time to do this for my next project? Yes, I do. So therefore, I don't need JSON Server. Can John next to me here, can he build an API backend? He doesn't know how, and it's difficult. Okay, well, he does have this problem. Can me and John work together to build an instant project we can showcase to a customer right now? In which case, I don't want to spend time building an API. Well, in that case, JSON Server answers that question. So don't try to fit it in your world. Instead, figure out if the problem it's trying to solve is a problem you have. If you do, then you can learn more about it. If you don't, then don't worry too much about it until you do. Does that make sense?
I understand. So the problem is not, so it's best not to think about how to use it, but when you need, but if you need to use it.
That's the right word, James.
Yeah,
if you need this,
for example, so for example, like if you're building a mobile app and you're building a mobile app of restaurants and you don't want to deal with creating the database and creating also the API, you could simply just throw in a JSON with all the restaurants you want to show, and you don't have to connect to an outside API and get authentication and all that stuff. You do it locally, and right there is your MVP to show to a customer or a project or whatever. So that's an example.
I think it's a very good tool for prototyping.
Yes.
To be a good way, faster.
It is amazing for that because of the fact that I don't, even if you know how to do APIs all your life, you just want to get the data out there. You just want the front end to do it. So prototyping, excellent use of this because you may have the skills or not to do it. You just don't have the time. And this one instantly gets you a back end that's full CRUD. I was able to delete a record. I was able to add a record. I was able to do everything.
All right.
Perfect. So one of the things, let's see what time it is. Well, we're already into the hour. So let me just try to go through it quickly. It's utilizing something that I strongly believe, and I was blown away, called LowDB. What do I mean by that? Okay, so we did something which is we deleted. I'm going to go Control-C, and I'm going to stop the Json Server application. Now, I'm going to go and show you the Futurama, and you're going to see that the questions, bad example, you're going to see that, you can trust me, the questions number 1 is deleted. So you may go like, yeah, Damian, I saw you deleted it. But what I mean specifically is I hit an endpoint. So Json Server could have actually just sort of loaded the JSON into memory, displayed it as the endpoints, this beautiful endpoint solution that we have here, and then simply ignored the file. But it doesn't. It actually writes to the file. So if I inserted a bunch of records in my testing and by mistake stopped the JSON server, I just bring it back up. And lo and behold, that server's questions, the first one is gone. So it saved the information. It's not in memory. Now, that may not be a big, huge thing, but Redis, for example, will be a database that holds everything in memory. It is there's a wonderful solution for this, which is maybe you have a blog, and the blog's truth, you know what I mean? If we go to The Verge, the truth is that there's a beautiful, sophisticated $10,000 a month database in the back end. But why? Right? The Verge changes, but doesn't change that often. And what changes the most is these articles, a brand new article here. So why am I constantly hitting a database to do a read? Well, this is silly because there's only, 10 articles a day here. The majority of the time, they probably have a memory-only database from which they pull from. And then when a new author of these ones, the new Sean Hollister, creates a new article and puts it up there, the memory database is notified. The memory database might hit the actual real physical, MongoDB database, and it will update itself and then continue replying to the world of read-only. Does everybody see why it's not like, we always thought the answer to pulling information and writing information is a database, but it's not that efficient, right? 100 million people hitting this website means 100 million queries to the database. There's no need for that. There's been 15 changes throughout the day, 16 because he made a typo, right? There's no need for a database to be there. So a lot of people have decided that the answer is something like Redis or other memory-intensive databases which load the information from a real database, a real backend, and then save that information available to be instantly hit by 100 million visitors. But since there's not often an update, you do something else in there. Another issue I had with this particular client, which was going to be getting not 100 million hits, but quite a bit of hits. And he was going to have the exact same issue. He almost had a blog. He had a list of wonderful information. You pulled the information, but you were going to hit it 1 million times today. And so were 100 million other people in the world. And he was really going to update it on Sundays. And also, I found it interesting and useful to even eliminate the database whatsoever. So I didn't want to pay for a Redis database, which can be expensive, which is the answer to what Verge does, a memory-only database. I didn't want to spend money for this client on a real database that might be laggy if too many people hit on it, because now there's all sorts of things. So then I discovered that this the JSON used LowDB. And as you can see, you'll start seeing things that make it sound like what we saw a second ago. I'm loading it. This is Node. I'm loading it to a variable, and then all of a sudden, using that variable, I'm loading a JSON file, right? That sounds familiar. It's because we did it right here. We went to Json Server, and we told it, here's the JSON file. And what you have here, and you can see that here is full CRUD. Here's how to insert, here's how to read, here's how to update, and here's how to delete. And I won't go too much into it because there isn't much other than what you're seeing here, which is available at slides.floridajs.com. What I just want to drop, into your mind in the situations, not like James, you beautifully laid it out. How can I use this? No. When you feel like you need something like this, I just want you to think of LowDB. And I had the situation because this customer had this, a website which had incredibly important database that needed to be updated like a database, needed to be not like a WordPress database where he needed to update everything. It would pull from different services because it's pulling the price of different things, cryptocurrency, things like that. And updating things in a database style, but the majority of time was going to be in a file. And LowDB gave us that. And the last thing it did, like I mentioned in the chat, is it did something magic, which it saved it to a local JSON file. And you may all not see it, but I saw this incredible and beautiful, amazing benefit of every Sunday when he would update, he would let me know, and I would add and then check his changes to the server. Because the JSON file would be physically changed. It's living in memory, but because it's not often changed, whenever it is changed with an update or an insert, it changes the actual physical file, and I was able to add it to a local Git and back up his database, and even more better. Like if a guy like me doesn't know English, would say, you're able to clone my repo. Other developers are able to clone the project and instantly have the data there. And there's no server. MongoDB, by the way, if you don't know, can be loaded in your npm start. So if you start a project, you can put in the data directory. I've done this a lot. You'll install MongoDB on your local computer, but you'll go ahead and utilize not MongoDB on some kind of foreign server on your local one, and you just have the command line that starts your web server for your development, also start an instance that utilizes the data locally. And now I'm getting this kind of a benefit where I'm saving the data along with my source code. Talk to me.
Yeah, the only way to do that is using something like a Docker Compose or just Docker.
There's no need for that. You can literally in your project.
If you want to do that, load a MongoDB and in kind of the start of the application.
Yep.
The only way to do it is using Docker Compose or Docker or something similar, and that will take a lot of time also.
I disagree with you. All you have to do is have a directory called data, as I have here in this particular example, and start MongoDB in a way that it points to that data. MongoDB needs to be installed on the local computer. That is not something that I'm telling you is not needed. It wouldn't have been needed with your solution. But with what I'm saying that in the future you should be using LowDB. But if you don't want, and you insist on MongoDB, one option to achieve this wonderfulness that I saw is not to use Dockers, because the Docker only includes applications, does not use data, is to install MongoDB in all the developer boxes. And then your npm start can not only start dev, so you have the development environment, and only in the development environment, not only run the local node application or whatever is going to be running locally, but also start an instance of MongoDB and point it to the data directory. And if it doesn't make any sense and all that, please talk to me, because I've done it before. This is my solution that I've architected for other people because I saw a huge benefit if being able to keep the data with the project, if that was something that was important, right? We don't want the data on production. This is more so that I can do a bunch of inserts and you in the QA department can see those inserts, or I can do a bunch of inserts and you, the other developer, can see those inserts. That's the only thing I'm talking about. And you can do it that way with Docker, but there's no need. I can show you how to do that if you'd like, in other ways. So I talked like I was shutting you down. That was not my case. I want to hear that opposition. Tell me where I'm wrong if I'm wrong at this. If to me there was a big deal, I just wanted to mention that really the biggest thing of this presentation was the sample JSON file. So again, please stop me at if you have any questions, if you have any issues. Whoops, just please excuse me. This is not, you're supposed to see that, not the slashes you saw a second ago. But as you can see, it has full delete, update, read, even filtered. And there's two types of, you can look into the differences. And then there's insert with that. And this is not a replacement for MongoDB. MongoDB is beautiful. Atlas is magical. MongoDB, I feel, can achieve some of the goals that I'm talking about here and can achieve them better. But if you want to knock something out here, and frankly, this was a customer that paid several cars worth of money, and our solution was based on the LowDB because of the fact that it had a tremendous amount of reads and very, 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 very light writes. But like this slide says, let's hear from you. What do you all think about that?
One quick question. I think if I recall, the reason that it's called LowDB is because isn't it based on Lodash? So a lot of that Lodash functionality you can do against your JSON file.
I love hearing that. Let's see with that. I don't know, but I think so. It's by the same people. That's they made LowDB first. Let me see if we can do quick dash. Add Lodash, hackable. Well, they're saying add Lodash. That's something else. I think this is where you can get some of the benefits that you have from Lodash, and I guess Lodash isn't LOW, but I'm not too sure if you're right or not. I'd love to hear more about it. I'd love to hear whether that's true or not. It makes sense to me, but I guess, just to point out, Lodash isn't LOW. But you can definitely add it, and clearly, if they have it as art, they don't have anything else that they're talking about. They're not talking about anything else other than Lodash. So obviously, either it's exactly what you're talking about, or they saw enough people saying, "Oh, what about Lodash? Is that what you're named after?" And they added that in there. But great question, great comment.
I think they are from the same company, no? Lodash and LowDB.
Ah, interesting.
By the same code base.
Let's see.
That Lodash, no, LowDB is based on Lodash. It uses a lot of Lodash. What's the name? A lot of Lodash API. Like for example, it uses the Lodash caching, uses the Lodash sorting, Lodash. It uses a lot of Lodash, so they make it like it's from there.
You see that here, right? Is that what you said in the GitHub?
Yeah, the same group that I think made it.
Okay, sounds good. And Lodash is amazing.
Yeah,
absolutely. So this is, we can find out more about it. You can find it also on the slides.winjs.com. This one will either be, this is definitely something you can ignore. You can just remember about it later. I was just fascinated, and I ended up using it. And to me, I always thought I had an issue with databases. I was complained until Atlas came around that there wasn't a way to do a free database without paying. I mean, you could host it, as James has reminded us, on Surge for the front end. You could do backends in Azure, on AWS, sometimes for free, as long as it's not too many. In functions, you have 1 million calls. My goodness, how many times do you need to be calling your website for it to hit 1 million times? I guess 1 million is the answer to that question. It's just magic, but I always found the database to be a problem. And definitely, Atlas solved that, giving you a sort of a one free database. But I think this one means that you can put in 15 different projects of your own. And it's beautiful that, you can go to github.com and instantly download my project, and I give you the data, and there's nothing you need to be installed other than Node on your application, right? Keep forgetting my private stuff, sorry. So nothing has to be installed. If you download my CodeCamp mobile application for South Florida CodeCamp, you would be able to go in there and start the project right away. You can with sample APIs. If you go and you clone the application and you just npm run it, or npm run dev, instantly it runs. There's no database to be turned on. There's nothing there that needs to be in there. Now, there's no database utilizing, but the truth is that there is that JSON file that it's loading. So it is something that would be instantly able to work on all these instantly. And I think there's something to be said about that. So, any other questions? All right, everybody's favorite time in the world is the time when I give you guys free stuff. So if you want to join me on your laptop or phone and go to win.floridajs.com, read what it says there on the site. Don't go to the same one I did. And as everybody goes there, you should be able to see tickets come up there. Oh my goodness. I think we have quite a lot of numbers. If you don't mind, what I'm going to do, if everybody can just stop for 1 second, pause for 1 second. I'm going to reset the numbers, because if not, we'll be here for a long time. If you don't mind. Okay. If anybody has got a tickets, yes, go ahead now and go to win.floridajs.com. Go ahead and refresh the page if you've done so. Wow, we'll have problems because it might stick around. Is anybody getting the 90s number still on their phone or their laptops? And anybody is, please either check. Okay, thank you, Tracy.
I got 98.
You got 98. Can you refresh the page, and does it stick with 98?
No, now it's 16.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So if you don't know, every single month we have different giveaways. Sometimes we have recruiters that give us away some big, beautiful, fancy swag. Sometimes we have gift cards. In this case, we have a license for any software that is by the WebStorm people. So it's JetBrains. So it's any software, not service, but any software they have is available for you if you win. If you do win, we'll see your tickets come up there in just a second. And we will go ahead and you go ahead and contact me. I'll show you how to contact me. And then we'll give you that number out there. So has everybody gotten their tickets? Is there anybody that can go and chat or speak out if you haven't gotten your tickets yet? I'll take that as everybody got their tickets. Perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and choose a winner. And if you look down on your device or your phones, we'll do some little bit of magic, or you can look up on the screen and see that without me doing anything, we've already gotten a winner. Is 17 with us?
Yes, sorry.
Perfect.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay,
I'm
perfect.
excited.
Excellent. Was that Esteban, or who was that?
Yes.
Oh,
that's
perfect.
me.
So I know you know how to get a contact me. It didn't work. Alan, what happened? Tell me why it didn't work. This is software that I'm very proud of. So if it didn't work, there's some more QA that needs to be done.
And we said no. So you should get to the next number.
Yes. That's a good point. That's a good point. So this is using WebSockets. I have it in my GitHub repo. And anyways, let's stop sharing. If they want, just contact me and I'll get you the code. Thank you everybody for joining us. Thank you everybody for sticking around. We give away these once a month. We do meet twice a month. And more importantly than anything, you should just check out FloridaJS.com or meetup.com/FloridaJS. And because Mr. Jonathan is going to show us Next.js. So if you are a fan of anything to do with the Now people, the Void people, the React, Next.js will blow you away. And we'll learn all about it in the next presentation. The next presentation is not in person. That will be the 3rd of August. And we're still having a location, so check out, do sign up on meetup.com/FloridaJS for more information. And anybody else have any comments or questions?
Just thank you, Damian, as always.
Yes, sir.
Much
This has been great, Damian. Awesome. I've been wanting to see this for a while, and this is great, man. Thank you so much. We definitely got to show the students this one.
I'm a big fan of it. I think students, like Barry said, maybe something for something quick, but I do believe that this can help out. What you do with showing them, file base is just magic. Atlas. Magic. It's free. It's to charge you anything, you have to do ridiculous things. But this has its place, and this can quickly knock out something, or it can be something that we all do. So, thank you very much for joining us.
It was a great introduction for Json Server.
Yes, sir. Thank you. All right, everybody. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know. If you do want to speak like Jonathan, please let me know as well. And if not, we'll see you at the end of the month.
Go Colombia.
Thank you so much, Damian. That was great.
Colombia.
Go Colombia. If not, I'm going to get spanked by my wife. So, even though really it's go Argentina, what I mean. Whatever.
See you guys. Bye.
See ya.
See you guys next time. Esteban, give me a call.
Hi, everybody.
Yeah. Chat me on chat.